Oiran Buchi, the Cursed Abyss of Yamanashi. Full-long horror history for YouTube. The Forgotten Mountain of the Dead. Long before modern roads crossed the mountains of Yamanashi Prefecture, before tourists visited the forests, before electric lights illuminated the valleys, there existed a place feared even by hardened samurai. A deep mountain gorge hidden between endless cliffs. A place where the wind never sounded normal. A place where travelers disappeared. A place now known as Oiran Buchi, the Courtesans Abyss. Even today, locals avoid speaking too loudly about it after dark. Truck drivers refuse to stop near the old road. Hikers warn each other never to wander into the abandoned mountain paths at night. And paranormal investigators from across Japan continue visiting the gorge searching for answers about the crying women said to haunt the cliffs. But the legend of Oiran Buchi is not simply a ghost story. It begins with war. With greed. With betrayal. And with one horrifying night that stained the mountains of Yamanashi forever. Japan during the Age of Bloodshed. The story takes place during the Sengoku period, one of the bloodiest eras in Japanese history. From the late 1400s into the 1500s, Japan was consumed by endless civil war. Powerful warlords fought each other for land, resources, and control of the country. Villages burned. Armies marched constantly. Assassinations, betrayals, and executions became normal. Among the most feared warlords was the legendary Takeda Shingen of the Takeda clan. Takeda Shingen was famous for military brilliance and ruthless strategy. His armies terrified enemies across Japan. But maintaining a massive army required enormous wealth. Gold. Silver. Weapons. Food. Spies. Everything depended on money. And hidden deep inside the mountains of Kai Province, modern-day Yamanashi, the Takeda clan controlled secret gold mines believed to supply part of their military fortune. historyofjapan.co.uk. The mines were isolated in dangerous mountain terrain surrounded by steep cliffs, rivers, forests, and narrow roads. Few outsiders ever reached them. Even fewer left alive. Life inside the hidden gold mines. The Kurikawa gold mines were brutal places. Miners worked deep underground in suffocating darkness illuminated only by fire and oil lamps. The tunnels were unstable. Toxic dust filled the air. Cave-ins and accidents killed workers constantly. Some men entered the mines healthy and emerged months later barely recognizable. But the mining settlement needed more than workers. It needed guards. Blacksmiths. Servants. Entertainers. And women. Among these women were the Oiran, high-ranking courtesans trained in traditional Japanese arts including dance, music, singing, poetry, tea ceremonies, and conversation. To outsiders, the Oiran appeared elegant and glamorous. Their elaborate hairstyles, expensive kimono, and white-painted faces symbolized beauty and status. But behind that appearance was a cruel reality. Many women had little control over their lives. Some were sold into service by poor families. Some were trapped by debt. Some were brought into isolated mountain settlements where escape became nearly impossible. At the hidden Takeda mining camps, these women entertained exhausted miners and samurai officers while living beneath strict supervision. And according to local legend, they eventually learned too much. The fall of the Takeda clan. As years passed, Takeda Shingen's power began weakening. Enemies surrounded the clan. Rival warlords advanced. The Takeda leadership became increasingly paranoid that secrets about the hidden gold mines could fall into enemy hands. If the locations of the mines were discovered, rival clans could seize the wealth and destroy the Takeda forever. According to oral legends passed down through generations in Yamanashi, the clan leaders made a horrifying decision. Anyone connected to the mines could become a threat. Especially the women. The Oiran had listened to soldiers talk while drunk. They overheard conversations. They knew routes through the mountains. They knew where the gold was transported. And in an age where secrecy meant survival, that knowledge became deadly. The final celebration. One cold evening, the women were told there would be a special gathering. A celebration. Some versions of the legend say music played. Others say lanterns illuminated a wooden suspension bridge stretched above the raging river far below. The women dressed beautifully for the occasion. Silk kimono. Hair ornaments. White makeup. Perhaps some believed they were finally being rewarded after years of isolation in the mountains. Perhaps some already sensed danger. The bridge swayed gently over the abyss while water crashed violently beneath the cliffs. The soldiers smiled. The women danced. And then the ropes were cut. Suddenly the entire structure collapsed. Screams echoed through the gorge. Bodies plunged into darkness. Some women smashed against rocks below. Others were swallowed instantly by the freezing currents. Some legends say the screams continued for hours through the canyon as injured victims begged for help from the riverbanks. But nobody came. The mountains remained silent. By morning, the river had carried many bodies away forever. The gorge became known as Oiran Buchi. The Courtesans Abyss. The first ghost stories. Soon after the tragedy, strange stories began spreading through nearby villages. Travelers crossing the mountain paths at night reported hearing women crying in the darkness. Wooden sandals clacked behind lonely travelers even when nobody was there. Miners claimed pale female figures appeared near the river during heavy fog. One legend tells of a samurai who crossed the gorge after midnight and saw dozens of women standing silently beside the cliffs. Their clothing hung soaked with water. Their heads tilted unnaturally. When he called out to them, the figures slowly turned toward him. Their faces were pale white. Their eyes completely black. The samurai fled in terror and reportedly became ill shortly afterward. Other villagers claimed the spirits specifically targeted men connected to violence or greed. Some believed the women were searching endlessly for revenge. Others believed they simply wanted somebody to remember them. The Mountain Road of Fear. For centuries the area surrounding Oiran Buchi became infamous throughout Yamanashi. Travelers avoided the old road whenever possible. During storms, people claimed ghostly cries mixed with the sound of the wind through the cliffs. Horses reportedly panicked near certain sections of the gorge and refused to move forward. Several stories describe travelers seeing lantern lights floating deep within the forest before suddenly disappearing. Some who followed the lights allegedly vanished completely. Even during modern times, drivers passing near the abandoned mountain roads reported terrifying experiences. Cars stalled unexpectedly. Radios produced static. Photographs captured strange shadows. Some visitors claimed they saw women standing beside the road wearing old-style kimono before vanishing into the darkness. Others described hearing whispering voices from empty tunnels. Paranormal investigators visiting the area recorded unexplained sounds resembling crying or faint singing. Vocal.media. The isolated forests of Yamanashi. Part of what makes Oiran Buchi so terrifying is its location. The mountains surrounding the gorge are dense, isolated, and often covered in fog. At night the area becomes extremely dark. The river echoes through the valley like distant screams. There are few lights, few houses, and almost no sound except moving water and wind. Many visitors describe an overwhelming sense of unease even before learning the legend. Some paranormal researchers believe locations tied to violent emotional trauma leave psychological impressions on people who visit later. Others believe the hauntings are genuine supernatural activity connected to the women who died there centuries ago. Skeptics argue the stories grew over time through folklore and exaggeration. But even skeptics admit the atmosphere of Oiran Buchi feels deeply disturbing. Modern urban legends. In modern Japan, Oiran Buchi became famous online through ghost documentaries, horror television programs, paranormal forums, and YouTube explorers. Many urban legends now surround the area. Some claim, if you hear a woman crying near the river, you must never answer. If somebody calls your name from the forest, you should not turn around. If you see a woman in white standing beside the road after midnight, never stop your car. One particularly famous story tells of two young men exploring the old road late at night. According to the tale, they heard footsteps behind them while crossing a narrow bridge. When they turned around, they saw a woman standing motionless at the opposite end. Her face could not be seen clearly beneath her long black hair. As they stared, she slowly lifted one arm and pointed toward the river below. Terrified, the men ran back to their car. But after returning home, one allegedly discovered muddy handprints on the rear window. Another story describes a photographer visiting the gorge alone. After developing his photos later, he reportedly noticed pale faces appearing among the trees behind him in multiple images. Are the stories true? Historians debate how much of the Oiran Buchi massacre is fully documented history and how much evolved through folklore over centuries. Some historical references connect the area to the Takeda gold mines and dangerous mountain settlements. But many details about the execution of the courtesan survive mainly through oral legends passed down through generations. historyofjapan.co.uk. Yet in Japan, legends hold enormous cultural power. Places associated with suffering, betrayal, and violent death are often believed capable of producing yurei, restless spirits trapped by powerful emotions. And few stories contain more betrayal than Oiran Buchi. The curse that never ended. Even now, centuries later, people continue reporting strange experiences near the cliffs. Locals still warn children not to wander near the old roads after sunset. Some mountain workers refuse night shifts near certain tunnels. Taxi drivers sometimes decline requests to travel through isolated sections late at night. Whether these fears come from ghosts or from the terrifying atmosphere itself, the legend remains alive. Because somewhere within the fog-covered mountains of Yamanashi, there is still a gorge where dozens of women disappeared into darkness. And according to legend, their cries still echo through the valley. In the mountains of Yamanashi, beneath endless forests and towering cliffs, lies a place where betrayal became legend. A place where women vanished into darkness more than 400 years ago. Travelers still claim to hear crying near the river below. Some say the dead are still waiting in the fog. This was the horrifying true legend of Oiran Buchi, Japan's cursed abyss.